Hey everyone, my name is Jazz, and for today's video, I'm going to talk about how to improve your decision making in fights. The best way to do this is by VOD reviewing your fights, and to ask yourself a couple of questions while you're watching. The most important questions to ask yourself are, when did I take damage? Did something not go as expected? And did I apply pressure? Now I'm going to show you guys what I mean and how to actually implement this effectively. I've recently been playing Arena on stream, and I've picked 5 games to VOD review on the spot for you guys. Mainly to show the thought process behind finding your mistakes. If you don't have the time to watch all 5 examples, then I'd recommend to just watch the first one and skip to the end of the video, where I make a kind of tiny announcement. Alright, now let's take a look at this game. First I want to look at this first kill to see what the other person could have done better to not die to me in the way that he did. The way that he could have changed his decisions, and after that we're going to look at my own death. So let's start off with this kill. So the reason I was pushing this guy, well, first of all, it's Arena, so I'm pushing everyone. Second of all, I saw him kind of disengaging from a fight, so I was assuming that he was weak, or at least kind of shambles. So I decided to push, and I was fairly aggressive on him. And I was right, so he was pretty weak. I didn't know this, obviously, because I didn't even crack his shields. I did get in. Let's see, so you can see that this guy's basically constantly expanding his stuff. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because we're really going to look at his perspective. Get him, and there we go, got the kill. So let's take a look at what he could have done differently. Pause, click on him. Alright, so as you can see, he's running away. And then he gets shot by me, or sees me, and then he gets shot. So he tries to box up, which is fine. Now he expands, that's also good. Right as I crash padded, by the way, so he was right on time with that. But first of all, actually, before I forget, let's take a look at the 3 questions, right? So when did he take damage? Or did something not go as expected, and did he apply pressure to me? So, did I take damage? So he took damage, obviously, at the start, which is an awareness thing. Basically, the moment he saw me building, he should have been building, but, you know, he only got tagged once, so that wasn't the biggest problem. Alright. So it's kind of a piece control thing, but wasn't detrimental. This time though, let's see. He takes damage. Why did he take damage? Because he didn't react fast enough to like the top. So something that he could think about would be, I should pay attention to everything in my box to make sure that it's all mine. And as you can see, he's constantly kind of running around the box. And eventually he dies. So let's take a look at the questions again, right? So when did I take damage? When he didn't have piece control. And I think the most important question actually would be, did I apply pressure? So when I say I, by the way, I'm talking about the person that just died, so I'm talking about Krisky. I'm not talking about my actual self. I'm talking about if I were Krisky, if I'd be VOD reviewing this, I should be looking at this. So the reason did I apply pressure is an important question is because if you never apply pressure, eventually bad stuff is going to happen. Either the fight is going to drag out so long that you're going to get third-partied or zones are going to catch up with you, or you're just going to die eventually to the person that's constantly pressuring you. So in this case, that'd be me. So in this case, the main question here is, did he ever apply pressure? And basically not really. I don't think he really ever tried to apply pressure. So something that he should take note of would be to, even if he's weak, he should still apply pressure. So applying pressure basically means going for an edit play or going for a high ground retake. Basically anything that would force me to either hold on to my position of control, of power, or to actually just deal damage directly. So that was his biggest issue right here. So he was basically constantly defending, constantly running around, and eventually it's gonna catch up with you. Even if you're really good at doing that, eventually, even if it's not the person that's fighting you, eventually zone's gonna catch up. Eventually something bad is going to happen if you never apply pressure. So that was his mistake right here. Let's take a look at my death. So I'm full health. I see this guy box up, so I'm assuming he isn't very good, because in arena usually people don't box up if they're good, but obviously there's exceptions. So I was hoping for him to edit open again with the Boogie Bomb, so that's why. Alright, so that right there was probably the fundamental mistake right there. So when did I take damage? He just dealt 130 damage or something to me. And then I have to ask myself, okay, why did that happen? What could I have done differently? So basically from this point on, you can hear him charging, right? So basically, if he's not holding, if he's just holding on his charge, what I was thinking, oh, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, I'll just take the wall because he's not holding his wall. But, and this is interesting because I actually knew about this, but I just never really fight someone who does this, is that you can shoot someone through the wall break, where if I break the wall and replace, there's a very, very short window of time that you can actually deal damage, which is basically what this guy was very good at. So you see that in between me replacing the wall, he got a massive shot off. So well done. And for me, that basically means, okay, next time that happens, next time I hear someone is holding down his charge, or even holding out his shotgun and not holding his wall, I need to approach that smarter. I need to, instead of just taking the wall like that, I need to maybe change direction again so that it's less predictable, so he can't just shoot me through the wall break. Because in this case, it was even easier for me to track, actually, because I was just hearing him having his charge out, right? So this should have been, this should not have happened if I was just smarter about it. Because now I'm in a bad spot, right? I'm weak. I expand kind of nicely. I go for the heal. And then you could say like, oh my god, crash pads suck and whatever, but at the end of the day, that crash pad isn't the reason I died here. The shooting me through the wall break was. So, you know. GG's, and let's move on to the next one. Alright, now for our second game. Again, I kind of want to go through the kills as well. Mainly because I've already watched this game and I know why this happened, this death. It was a really dumb mistake, but it basically happened because of my mental state and not because of my actual decision making, so not because of my skill. And I'll show you why that happened. So first off, I have a blue pump, right? It's not too interesting. But basically what happens here is I boogie bomb a guy and then I pump him really hard. So you see that pop and then I pump him 180. Right? It's a nice shot, it's whatever. Now let's move on to the next one. And the reason I'm showing, you guys will see why I'm showing this. I'll show you in a sec. Alright, so I'm approaching this guy. Speed up a little bit. So I notice, okay, this is really good shockwave range. I have my shotgun out and pop in the head and 135. So again, nice. I'm feeling pretty good about myself at this point. So I'm getting a little bit confident, which is good. And I'm also, I'd say, getting a little bit maybe too confident, and that's what I'll show with this test. So you see, I'm approaching this guy, and let's see. This isn't too interesting as of yet, just kind of build fighting. But I'll show you where it all went downhill in a sec here. So right here. So I hear him healing, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go up, and I actually end up boxing him up here. And this is where it went wrong. So in my thought process was basically of high confidence, right? I'm like, I've been pooping on people, I've been owning whatever, my pump's been on point, and screen, I could see that he was on the left side of the box. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna edit this. I'm going to fall on this side of the ramp, and then he is going to be on top of the ramp. Basically, I'm gonna jump and then pump him. But that didn't actually happen. So what happened was that I fell in, he moved to the left, and now I literally just died. And that's such a stupid mistake. And we'll kind of go over the problem again. So when did I take damage? Basically by jumping into the box. Why did I jump into the box? Even though I know there's better things to do. Like for me, what I usually do, which works really effectively in this situation, would be to, after editing, or while editing this, to jump on the wall. So I'll kind of run free. So I know to do this, right? But it's my mental state that has made me not do it. So I know to edit this ramp while standing on this wall right here. That works wonders because this guy is lost, right? Like he's fully boxed up, and I basically gave him a free kill, even though this should have been my free kill. So this is basically purely a mental state problem where I got too cocky or like too confident. So it's not always about when did I take damage, and it's always the decision itself that was bad, which in this case, by the way, it was. But I mean, it wasn't that I don't know to make a better decision. It's just that I didn't feel like it. So it's also important to take into account your mental state in the point at the death, right? So that's why I wanted to show this death as well. Now let's get into our third game. So in this case, it was basically, you'll see, this is important as well. So the first fight, I basically kill him, and you'll see why this is important in a sec. So I box up, and I want to heal, popping two big shields. My bad. Big pots. And this guy approaches, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't have time to pop the bigs. Boom. Okay, I take damage. I get away. And now I'm really weak, right? I'm still applying pressure, as you can tell. He shoots me through the wall. It's too bad. Trying to run away. I missed my shot and I missed my reset. So let's go over the questions again, right? So we have, when did I take damage? Did something not go as expected? And did I apply pressure? So let's see here. When did I take damage? That was in the beginning, right? So over here. Pop. Okay. So why did I take damage there? What could I have done to prevent this? So you could say, well, you could have edited down faster, or you could have stopped healing, or whatever. But in my opinion, the best thing I could have done would be to look back at this moment, where after I killed this guy, I expanded out in wood here, which made this box fairly weak. And the thing is, I've always made this decision where after I kill someone, you should expand, right? Because that way you don't get approached within that box where not everything's yours, where things are kind of messy, right? So this box right here, it's kind of messy. There's a ramp in it. Probably not everything in here is mine. In fact, I think I crash bedded in on him, so basically nothing of this is mine. So the muscle memory of me expanding here to make a new box for safety is good, but because it's wood, it's really easy to attack. So you'll see that if I would have boxed up in metal here, or even brick, I would have had time to actually pop my shields and be completely safe. Because what happens mainly, he takes that floor really quickly. Actually, I think I had my own floor, but he takes that wall mainly really quickly, right? So I'm healing, focusing my attention on healing, and then he goes for that wall, and he basically just two hits it and takes it. Imagine if I would have expanded in metal after the fight earlier. I would have had more time to heal. So my thought process here should be, I need to expand in a hard material so that I give myself the most time possible to heal. because in 99% of situations, it's not going to be that important because you're probably not going to get pushed. But for that one time that it is important, you're going to want metal or brick while you're healing, because that way you have more time to heal, right? Because now I'm healing, and then the moment, oh crap, he took my wall, edit down. I could have also flipped my stairs actually, which would have been a kind of a mechanical answer to this. But I think the decision-making part of it would be to expand in hard mats, because that's when I take damage, and now things are going to get rough, right? I did get out nicely with the crash pad, but 22 health, and I think what's important here that the other questions of, so did something not go as expected and did I apply pressure, aren't as big of an issue here. So because I do apply pressure even though I'm weak. So you'll see here I'm going for a shot, because this would have been a free shot if I would have hit him, but I didn't really see him properly with the ramp. So I box up again. And then here I go for another shot. So applying pressure wasn't really the problem in this fight. So I don't really want to continue with that. Let's see. And then eventually I just die, right? It's not too important. So as you can tell as well, usually it's about the first time you take damage that's an issue. The first time someone cracks your shields, because that's kind of when control goes into the favor of the other person. Alright, let's move on to the next game. Alright, so for this game, I kind of wanted to add this into it because I'm tired of people, I wouldn't say making excuses, but I'm tired of people putting all their attention on the unlucky part of a fight. So the thing with luck is that, you know, sometimes you're going to be lucky, sometimes you're going to be unlucky, but putting your attention on that is not going to help you improve. So for this fight, I get actually really unlucky, and I still want to VOD review it, and I want to see what I could have done differently to maybe even avoid the unlucky thing from happening, or at least making sure that this would have ended up differently. So as you can see here, it's kind of annoying, you can't see his health, but obviously in game I also wouldn't know his health, so it's not a big problem. I sneak up, and I absolutely beam him, right? I dealt White's damage, and I'm like, okay, let's push. I've got a massive health advantage. This is good. I mess up my crash pad. Go up. Try to get in on him. It's right there. I got sniped, right? That's the unlucky part that I was talking about. So it forces me to heal. I can hear that we're getting shot out. See the crash pad, I'm gonna use that. Now, the guy that I was fighting dies. Kind of build fight him. Go for a shot there. Hits me. And now I have no materials. I die. So you could say, well, you know, that was really unlucky, and obviously, you know, part of it is, but putting all my focus and attention on that and getting mad about that is not going to make me a better player. So instead of focusing on the unlucky part, let's take a look back at the fight, see what happens. So let's take a look at the 3 questions, right? So when did I take damage? Did something not go as expected? And did I apply pressure? So did I apply pressure? I feel like I did. I think I applied a lot of pressure actually. When did I take damage? So mainly, you know, the sniper, and in the fight afterwards as well. But we'll go over that later. And did something not go as expected? So I would call this something along the lines of did it not go as expected? Because I was basically trying to crash pit into his box, and I kind of, I don't know, I didn't see the ramp, or I wasn't like aware that I wasn't going to get in, which led to me kind of choking that. And here I focused too much on shooting instead of the piece control. I should have blocked the top before shooting him. This is basically because he was really weak, so I kind of just wanted to spray him and get him get him to die, but I should have still forced the piece control. And here's when I get shot, right? So this is the rough part. But imagine if I had taken 2 extra seconds to make sure that my crash pad would have been good. So right here, instead of just going down and crash padding, taking 2 seconds to get to the top first. So imagine I would have gone here, right? To actually have a better idea of what the situation is like, because if you look at this, it's kind of a weird angle to push from, because I'm not really sure what he's doing. He could either be continuing to run, he could be going to the side, which is what he's doing, he could have the ramp there, which he does. So me going down here is basically kind of an emotional play where I'm just like, okay, I cracked him, I did a lot of damage, let's finish him off. And then the question is important, did something not go as expected? Yes, something did not go as expected. I tried to crash pad into his box, and I choked it. So how could I have prevented this? By basically taking 2 extra seconds to see what he's actually doing. The thing is, usually when people are really weak, eventually they're going to box up. So I should have done that instead. So I should have waited for him to box up and then crash pad in on him. If I would have done that, I would not have actually taken that sniper bullet, probably. Or at least I would have finished this fight a lot quicker. So yeah, we've seen this a couple times, so let's move on to the next, kind of the actual death. So as you can see, my health actually fine. And the main reason I die here in this next fight, I would say, so I'm really low on materials right now, because I just fought that guy. It's fairly early game, right? It's first circle, so I don't have a lot of materials. And I didn't get the kill on the guy that I was actually fighting. And that's, as I said earlier, I should have finished that fight a lot quicker with the crash pad, doing it properly instead of trying to do it rushed. So having a low amount of materials also kind of puts me in the mental state of, crap, this is not good. But I still build fight him. Oh, didn't mean to do that, my bad. So here, I was actually expecting him to edit again. So what I could have done, what he does actually, he does it fairly kind of weird. I'm not sure if I would say it was good per se, but it was definitely preventable for me. Because I was basically kind of watching him a little bit too much. I should have probably built a wall. So I probably could have, right here, built a wall in case he edits, and then edit the wall with a top right corner peek to actually make sure I have a good angle. Because in this case, it's the same thing when someone has a low ground peek on you. It's a pretty good peek, right? You just have to jump and shoot. So for the person on high ground, they have to pay attention that that's not going to happen to them. And this is basically the same situation. So I should have built a wall and had it edited on the top right corner peek. Because here I take a massive hit, right? That was, I don't know, 120 damage or something, so pretty crazy. So that was basically my biggest issue there. Because I do apply pressure. So again, my questions of did something not go as expected, did I apply pressure, aren't as important in the second fight. In the first fight, it was, right? I didn't really take damage in that fight, but I should have crash padded differently. Alright, so for a final fight of today, again, this is kind of a death where chat went crazy saying like, oh my god, you're so unlucky and stuff. And I agree, but I'm still going to VOD review to see if I could have done something differently to change the outcome of this situation, right? So we're about to fight. He gets a weird kind of nice shot on me, but it's not a big deal, right? He only hits me for 12, so I wouldn't call that a big mistake. So I take control of the fight, it's good. Right there, if he hadn't placed that wall, I would have gotten a nice shot off on him, so I'm still not doing anything bad at this point. I make sure I keep control over the fight. Alright, so this is where it takes some damage. And I kind of lose control over the fight. And then he shockwaves, and I died of fall damage. So, I didn't really rage after this, I just kind of went quiet. I was like, okay, really, Fortnite? You gotta do me like that. But again, I'm still going to look at this kind of objectively, like what could I have done differently? What happened here? Basically, everything up to the point where I boxed up or basically to the point where I lost control over the fight. So I'd say right here, I did nothing wrong. But here is kind of where it went all downhill. And he was really good, by the way, at reacting to me getting shot and me losing control over the fight. He was really good at taking control. Because that's basically where I boxed up, and now he has control over the fight. So how did he take that control? Basically, I'd argue that he took control right here. So I'm actually using a charged shotgun. And if you can listen, I'm not sure, replay is kind of buggy sometimes, I'm not sure if you'll hear it, but I basically jump, look for him, and then charge, which is making me a lot slower. Because then, now I'm like, oh, I tried to place the wall, and now I'm kind of jumped to the left, and now it kind of choked my ramp. And this basically all happened because I was being slow with my charge. So if you're using a charged shotgun, and I think part of this was maybe because I'm not sure, I don't remember if I knew I was using a charged shotgun, but basically I should play more into the characteristics of the charged shotgun or of the shotgun that you're using, right? So in this case, I should start charging it as I'm up here and I'm about to jump down, or while I'm jumping down. Because if you can hear it, I start charging it now, which is way too slow, right? Because I'm obviously going for a shot. So what I should have done was start charging, then jump, then shoot. Because that would have basically made me a lot quicker. Because right here, I could have charged, shot, I could have actually dealt damage here as well, right? And now, though, because I'm holding my charge out for longer, I'm kind of wasting time. And now he has good piece control on me, and I basically, it all goes downhill from here, right? And then the unfortunate death occurs. So basically the question here, when did I take damage? Did something not go as expected? And did I apply pressure? Overall, I did apply pressure to a certain degree. That was fine. It wasn't the biggest issue, I feel. But when did I take damage? Basically, I took damage when I was misusing my shotgun. So actually, now that I think about it, the fourth question should maybe be, when did I lose control over the fight, or something like that. But I feel like it's not really important as a whole new question, because it kind of is a part of the did I apply pressure part, and when did I take damage? Because usually you take damage when you don't have control, right? So right here I don't have control over the fight, but it's basically when did I take damage? Right here, when I choked my shotgun and I was being slow. Finally, to improve your decision making, you should actually write down your mistakes and what to do differently next time. This way, you'll actually remember it and you can apply it in future games. So for this example, we've been using Word, where basically after each game or after each review, you should write down what you should do differently, and you should always phrase it in a way where you're not just saying you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. You should always write it down positively. So what should you do next time? Because if you're always going to write down you shouldn't do this, then you have no idea what you're going to do next time. So instead of writing down you shouldn't do this, you should also write down what should you do next time. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today, but before I head off, I wanted to say that I'm currently growing a Discord server, and this is going to be the best way to interact with the community. And eventually I'd like to host our own little events, like scrims or creative tournaments, for cash prizes. These cash prizes will mainly be based on people using my code in the item shop, which is Coach Jazz, by the way. I hope this is something you guys are interested in, because I think it will be super fun. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.